Welcome to Innovative Strategies with Bill Hasse. Innovative Strategies is a show to help people with their business and financial literacy, but not the way you've known. This is not your grandpa's financial literacy, as Bill uses his 30 years plus years in the financial industry to stretch your financial box from, about a 30,000-foot view of things. Bill and his guests have helped hundreds of clients achieve and surpass their financial goals. If you have questions, email Bill at Bill@BillHasse, that's Bill@BillHasse.com, or reach out to him at 216thenet@gmail.com. Today, we kick off our conversations with a CEO live from Butterfield Studios. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Ken. We're not in Kansas anymore, are we?
No, and I've got a camera on me. I don't know if I like it.
Well, that's why I got to remember not to tell a ball joke now. I don't need you to pull a Will Smith on me.
That I could. Too soon? I don't know.
We're a beautiful new studio, new home, where we are going to start this new series with Innovative Strategies. The series is going to be based on conversations with the CEO.
Yeah.
And from a different level and different perspective that we want to give to our business owners that listen in and help them understand things from a different perspective.
And a huge shout out to Jeff and the guys here at Butterfield Studios. Right?
Unbelievable.
I mean, amazing. So butterfield.studio, and you can find out more about what they do, but wow. Awesome.
Yeah, this is a real deal. These folks are high-end professionals, know exactly what they're doing. We can't tell you how much we appreciate the opportunity to use these facilities and bring Kent pretty face online there.
Yeah, the interesting thing is what I love seeing is somebody else scramble a little bit, right? But it's absolutely amazing, the team that Jeff has here, the abilities that they have here at Butterfield Studios. It's blessed to be here.
We're extremely thankful for all those who have supported us and helped us get to this point. Yeah. But so let's rock and roll. Let's get this going. Today we have our first CEO in this new series, Alex Rosen from American Financial Management Company. Alex, come on out here, join us.
Hey, look at this.
Let's learn a little bit about who you are and what's going on. How are you doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Welcome.
Hey man, how are you? Welcome.
Good, how are you? Thank you both for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
What an incredible setup. What a great studio.
Welcome. Oh, thank you. I wish it were mine, but maybe not. But careful what you wish for, right, Ken?
That's right.
So, Alex, you're CEO, COO of American Financial Management. Company started back in 1964, for those of you, when I say 64. You're third generation, and you've kind of help this business go from more of that family type style business more into a corporate style business. So you've got growing pains, right? And so you're familiar with the things that business owners have to go through, some of the trials and tribulations. Tell us a little bit about that transition.
Of course. As you mentioned, third generation family business, a long time back, 1964.
Yeah.
I
was already born then, by the way. Just so you
know.
Me. Before Ken points out how old I am.
I wasn't either, trust me. That's why we say it's not his grandpa's financial literacy.
Yeah. Well, along those lines, actually, my grandfather would not let my father work for him.
Really?
So my father started American Financial Management in the early 80s, and then ultimately acquired my grandfather's company. So third generation or second generation, I'll go with third, sounds better. It was funny too. As a quick aside, I do remember growing up hearing my grandfather talk to me about the business and about my father's company, and as I was growing in my profession as an attorney, my grandfather had reached out to me often and leaned on me, for a lot of different matters he was still involved with. So just as
that's
an
cool.
But anyways, my father ran our business, American Financial Management, for 40 years since the early 80s. And when he started the company, it was paper and pen. Computers were not commonplace.
Right.
So it was a whole different world, and he, throughout his career, was able to transition to that computer environment.
Okay.
But there's a difference in terms of someone like a millennial around my age versus him transitioning it coming into the company and seeing some tech or antiquated tech items, back in like 2012, it really kind of spurred me to go at the business in that way.
So just to point out, 2012 is antiquated, huh?
Well,
'cause to me, that's just a couple of years ago.
well, no, when I say 2012,
But in tech world, I get it.
well, there was a floppy disk in my office. There was a cassette player. There was I think they call it a dump terminal that is square, and it's a black screen with green font on it. So a little bit of a Twilight Zone.
I used to play Pong on that.
That's right.
But being it's my family business, attorney background, really wanting to make sure our clients are taken care of. I saw it as a challenge and opportunity to evolve the business and also kind of convert it to a legacy or reactive to more of a progressive and proactive company. And ultimately, from 2012 through 2021, when my dad was running the company, of course, to the extent that he was comfortable, we made shifts and changes and made improvements to tech culture, to sales process. And then when I took it over, it wasn't to the extent that I felt, comfortable with, good about. So that's really when we went on the journey last year.
That's important. So a couple of points there. You bring it up to date is really what you're kind of talking about. Because when you have a business owner that's been there 40 years, they're kind of ingrained. This is how we've done things. This is how we've always done things. How we're always going to do things. Right. And don't bring anything new up to me, kid. Well, you'll get your shot, kind of thing. But I love what you pointed out. You talked about being progressive and proactive. Yeah. I still hear every day in conversations I have with people about businesses that are not. They still don't get it. They still don't understand. You have to be proactive. I mean, look at our government. We're still learning how to be proactive with pandemics. So there's a lag. Certain industries lag more than others, but so I love that you're forward thinking.
Yeah.
That's really important. But let's get into a little bit more about what American Financial Management does. Okay. I mean, the show is about what kind of problems do business owners have and what they run into where they come to you for your services.
Yeah. Real quick, just to finalize that last point, I almost feel like an obligation to my clients and customers to be proactive and progressive, because if not, then I'm not the company that they brought on as their vendor and supplier. Okay. So there's
That's very important.
An obligation. American Financial Management, we are a predominantly commercial, business-to-business debt collection agency.
Okay.
And the way we distinguish ourselves compared to competitors is that we have attorneys on staff that do the collection work from the first day we get a file. So more or less, you have an attorney that's assisting you on a contingency, success-only basis. Mm-hmm. And if they're not successful recovering the money our clients are owed, we don't earn a dollar.
Okay.
And it's predominantly in the B2B realm. We work with companies in a multitude of industries, from tech to security to finance to hospitality to media. So we're really fragmented in the B2B industry realm, but it's allowed us to get a lot of large companies in each one of those verticals.
But it's an art also in the way you do things, because look, you're helping acquire collections, funds that are owed the companies, but you don't want to hurt the relationships. Right, you want those businesses still to be working together. Yep. So there's an art to that, I can imagine.
Yeah, and that's been I kind of associate that with the change made to our business over the past 10 years, because in the past the industry, although it still does have a comparable connotation, but when you're in the industry, you kind of can see the evolution of the empathy and the way that you're going to garner result. So essentially, you have to humanize with the person on the other end of the phone. You have to really understand and be a consultant, more or less, to that person, although your vested interests are to your client, because you're their agent. you still, of course, have to treat the other person with respect, empathy, and care to get.
Yeah, it's relationships. It's real relationships. So folks, take note. Relationships are still in play, every bit as they ever have been. And a lot of industry has gotten away from that kind of, building relationships with their clientele and stuff. It's basically just get out there, sell it, buy my stuff, get it done, move on. But I love the fact that you're more into the relationship base, and of course that's because you have the empathy and you want to do the best and the right thing for your clients and helping them go forward. So this is something I think a lot of every industry it touches, but a lot of business owners, you're going to run into this. Your accounts receivable start falling behind. Your business starts dragging, and it starts creating and causing other problems. And love the fact that there's somebody out there like you they can come to find a solution.
Yeah.
What are some of the other points, though, that you touch upon? It's not just collections, right?
Right.
Because we talk relationships, but what are some of the other things that you folks do within your company?
So we're assisting businesses, of course, trying to recover their receivable on a voluntary basis, contingency model. If we're unsuccessful and certain facts of the file line up, meaning the balance is over a certain dollar amount, the company that owes the money isn't in severe financial distress, or have a lot of pending legal matters against them, we'll give the client the option to move forward in the legal process, and we'll help them, file a complaint, obtain a judgment, and then ultimately collect on the judgment. I mean, our goal is to collect the money voluntarily as quickly as possible for our client. It keeps our clients' costs low. They don't have to spend money to file a complaint or to serve, the person that owes the money. And there's other legal costs associated too, but essentially they're going to get their money quicker. They're going to pay less of a contingency fee, and overall it helps the relationship with the customer. The quicker you can get a resolution, the quicker there's an opportunity for them to be a client again.
Right. Right. Oh, well, the quicker you get your business back in order and running.
Right. So real quick though, besides those two areas, we also before we provide our collection. Our core collection model, our work, will give our clients an opportunity for a free demand, essentially a way for them to determine if their customer belongs in collections or is really a customer that maybe didn't get an invoice or fell in a hard time. So our free demand process, essentially we'll send out letters on our letterhead, but we'll direct through that letter their customer to contact our client directly. Pay our client directly, work it out with our client directly. They then notify us, and we'll close our file at no fee. The catch is that if there's no resolution during that time, that file automatically goes into our collections because their customer didn't resolve it, and they really do belong in collections. So
I promise. Maybe not. But Kent, you wanted to jump in
just
here.
a couple quick shout outs. Ted, good morning. Sally, Steph, Mary, loved having you guys here. The studio looks great. Of course, we're live from Butterfield Studio. Absolutely cool. I got a question that came in. As a business owner, I find myself spending several hours chasing my receivables. What is a great way of selecting a third-party collection vendor?
It's a great question. A lot of companies are getting so many calls day in and day out from collection vendors trying to work with them. I think at the end of the day, the collection vendor that you hire is a reflection on you. And I'm saying that because, it depends on the size of the business. Ultimately, the larger the business, you're going to have someone more in like an accounting or credit manager role that's going to be turning over accounts to a company like mine. If you're a smaller business, it might be the owner, or maybe a CFO, something along those lines. And each person that we're communicating with on a file, each one of our clients, they in theory have to report to someone else. So our work is a reflection on them. They need to feel good about their provider. They need to have trust and confidence. And a lot of that is established, one, by relationship, but two, by background and credentials of the company. So there's certain collection agency associations that are prestigious in the industry. that you want to make sure your partner is a member of. So it's called the Commercial Collection Agencies of America.
Okay. Weren't you part of starting that?
Yeah, we were a founder of the Commercial Collection Agencies of America. And there's a few other associations, but what's great about the Commercial Collection Agencies of America is they independently, not the association, but a board, a third-party board away from the association will come into our business, audit our process, audit our bank accounts, make sure that we're an upstanding company. We have a bond through them of $300,000. So if anything goes wrong, they're in good hands through the bond. And licensing and insurance, of course. We're licensed in every single state. Not all vendors are licensed in every state. So if you are working in Illinois, but your customer's in Wisconsin, there's a line there, and you need to make sure that your provider is able to call into Wisconsin and collect on that in Wisconsin. So those are some factors that I would recommend.
And that's interesting. And something that was mulling in my head also was it's not always about a pay up kind of a thing. It's like, okay, you're talking to the folks you're looking to collect from, and they're having trouble. Right, that's why they're behind.
Right.
So, do you have programs where you can work with them that they don't have to pay full balance?
Yeah.
They can work it out over time.
Definitely. Essentially, when we get involved, there's really like 5 or 6 reasons. One of them, financial difficulties, like you had mentioned. And in a more extreme, a company that's out of business, or maybe one that filed bankruptcy. So those are 3 different ways, or reasons why a customer wouldn't pay. Maybe they committed fraud. Maybe there's a dispute. So, there's a handful of reasons. Maybe it's just an avoidant promise breaker. But yeah, in the financial situation, it's best to understand exactly, what's going on with their company. If you can obtain any sort of financial documentation, whether it's a tax return, recent bank statements, a balance sheet, P&L statement, something for you to kind of see the overall financial health of the company, that would help you make an informed decision on how you should handle your receivable. Or when I say you, I mean either me or the client that we're servicing, their internal efforts. So if they can get some sort of information, that's not in reality happening every single deals. So what will happen ultimately is finding out really what's going on to the best that you can. And then, depending on a few different business-related factors, size of the balance and stuff along those lines, you got to make a decision. I would usually suggest consider settling. Taking your money.
Yeah, that would be another question I was going to have.
A lump sum payment, in a lot of cases, is a lot better than maybe getting the full amount over a long period of time. Maybe is the key word. You might never get that.
Well, that's important too, because you need to know where you're at, right? So if you're the company that is owed the money, you need to know if or what monies are coming in so you can plan going forward, right? And then on the other side, again, same thing. Let's get this thing off the books. Let's get moving forward because this is dragging everybody down.
Right.
And the longer you wait to take action or to contact somebody like you, the more difficult the problem becomes because the more weight it has put on each side.
Without a doubt. It's a good point you make, because for each month that a receivable is not paid, the value of your receivable decreases by 6%. So
6%?
6%. So basically after 6 months, your 30-year receivable is gone. So, it's really important when you're, evaluating your receivables or accounting processes, you want to have some sort of escalated approach at a certain interval for a certain segmentation of customers to make sure that your business is able to continuously operate.
Okay, so you've got the process, right? You from day one, you're contacted. You're already reaching out to the
obligor,
the obligator. I told you I'm not good with legal speak. I'm terrible at that. But so the obligator, you're reaching out to them immediately, but you're starting off in probably a more friendly manner. This is kind of like your car warranty's out of date, right? kind of thing, be nice. But you have to escalate it up at some point, right?
Well, so yeah, and that's what really separates us from others in the industry is that we have attorneys that are contacting these customers from an on-site law office.
Okay.
So when you get 2 letters in the mail, and you get one, from an attorney and one from a non-attorney, you're probably going to open the attorney one first because you
Absolutely.
know that if you don't resolve it, you might have to go to court,
Right,
and you don't want to go to court.
I'm not going to tear that
No.
one up.
So
It's,
we use that as a way to prompt communication. We also, in our communications, like I mentioned earlier, it's more about empathy and connection and relationship. And at the end of the day, it does help that we do have attorneys calling. It raises the level of professionalism, and it allows us to get their ear quicker, if that makes sense. It's all about treating them with care, finding out truly what's the reason for non-payment. Our goal is to have one connect and one collect, because we're operating on a contingency model.
Right.
And
right.
we're a service-based business. Most of our costs are payroll. And if we don't get these receivables resolved quicker, we're going to have to spend more time and effort, meaning increase our costs to get it resolved. So, that's our goal, is to get these resolved as quick as possible. But we know that doesn't come close to making sure that we operate in the way that we hold ourselves out to, which is, consistently with care.
And I get the vibe from you. I get the feeling, you're concerned, right? And I love that, because a lot of business people are not. They just get it done.
Right.
GID, get it done, get it done. And I like that, and the relationship style part of it and whatnot. But again, like you said, you're trying to get things done as quickly as possible. Not always going to happen. Every business is going to be in a different position, right? That's the problem. The ones you're contacting, they're all, I would imagine every single one is different.
Everyone is different.
There's no cookie cutter way of doing this.
The way that we approach it internally is we operate under the avoidant or non-responsive or promise breaker type situation, because that allows us to see through the process from beginning to end. But you're exactly right. Each file is completely different because it has different facts, and there's obviously a different story to each one.
So, a tough question. What's your percentage of success?
It's based on industry.
Okay.
And also based on whether we're the first vendor assisting a customer after their internal efforts. Sometimes, a company might second place an account, but generally our collectability is 25% of the gross monies that come in the door, we're going to recover. And 90% of those recoveries happen internally before that legal process starts.
Gotcha. Wow, that's outstanding.
Yeah.
So that's outstanding. Yeah, and I totally get the fact, if I get a letter from a lawyer and I get a letter from a collection agency, I might be just looking away from that collection agency, but I'm going to definitely pay attention to a lawyer, and especially one that's reaching out to saying, hey, let's just have a conversation. Let's see what's going on. Right. Let's see if we can help you resolve this, and so that all parties can move forward. I love that about American Financial Management Company. That's fantastic.
Yeah, because we are essentially using that attorney model, but on a collection agency basis. And our clients, they're not having to pay any money up front to have an attorney support their efforts, and they can get success with that attorney, without having the risk of, a retainer or hourly fees, just essentially a result. And you'll take a percentage of it, we'll get most of it back, and let's go to the next one.
That's outstanding. I've got Kent wants to step in here.
So Alex, you've grown up in this business. This is you're the third generation CEO. So you remember the days where you'd go rattle doors and walk in and say, "Hey, where's my money?" Right?
Yeah, I do.
Can we still do that today?
You send Tony and Joey and Paulie.
Yeah, how you doing? Huh?
You rattle a few bones.
It's funny you say that. Oh my gosh, because I remember in high school, college, summer internships. And one year I asked my dad, and he graciously allowed me to work for him. And I was doing that type of work where you didn't have the technology you have today, but I was printing out pieces of paper and trying to locate where someone lived. And I would get the number and call and ask, if they wanted to go get a beer or they graduated from high school, similar to what you were mentioning. And if, the person's like, no, he's not home or he can't, okay, check, he lives there, so now we know we could send a letter to that address.
Okay.
It's funny, because we're in the...
That's a different style of door knocking.
Yeah. Well, we're in the business-to-business realm, so it's different. We never really handled, the consumer-related work, so we're not going to individual stores. It's more, I guess it's less personal. But yeah, I mean, when I did start, we had a few of our coworkers that had aliases because they didn't want to use their actual real names when on the phone. So we had someone named like Tony Vitale. I remember a name offhand. I mean, that sounds like a pretty intense name.
That is.
Yeah,
if Tony Vitale shows up in my door, I'm.
So I'm laughing
Jimmy
because
the Nose.
I mean, and I honestly,
doing?
I don't even know if we are still authorized to use those names because we had to buy them from this Illinois Secretary of State. I think we don't do that, but yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because it is old school
ways of doing things.
When I started, that was
thank goodness
more
for technology.
commonplace. Now
right?
it's not here. Yeah,
technology takes Tony out of the picture.
Yeah,
That's it. Of course, you're checking out Innovative Strategies. That's the big sign behind you there. That's awesome. We're coming from Butterfield Studios. We've been blessed to be able to record and send this out. Absolutely fantastic team here, doing a great job. Make you look great.
That's
you have a
not
face
easy
for radio,
work, right?
So
that's hard.
Yeah,
It takes a whole crew.
that's it. And of course, for more information about Butterfield Studios, I think it's butterfield.studios that you just go Google them. They're great with what they do. And Alex, you're here kicking off our conversations with a CEO. And you own and are the CEO of American Financial Management. And if people want to get in touch with you on your website, where do they go for that?
https www.afm-usa.com.
Awesome. It's a great website, very informative, and kind of gives you a rundown of things on there. You have Attorney Intervention Collection Program. Am I saying that right?
That's
I saw
right.
that on your website.
Yep.
Help us understand what that is.
Okay. So essentially, we have attorneys in-house that will contact your past customers on a success basis, to try and recover your receivable. They'll do it by postal mail, by email, by phone. And when we first receive a file, that's when our leverage is strongest because now there's an outside unknown party that's an attorney contacting, about the payment. So you're really opening up someone's ears at that first point. Our goal is to use that leverage to our best advantage. So our individual attorneys are working each new file, every single day for the first 3 days they get an account. Really trying to find out what that reason is for non-payment if they can't collect it in full. And
so when you're doing that, Ted Legal asks, do you stay after people for 25 cents? Do you keep harassing? Do you stay after them? Or is it like, well, we've gotten it down to 25 cents. We think we're good.
Define harassing.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, we're going to operate under the, under the programs and procedures our client wants us to operate under. And we're only going to do it if we're okay, morally and ethically, operating in that way. When we're talking about 25 cents or $5 or $15, we are not going near that, honestly. At the end of the day, we're working in the B2B realm. Everyone has a different value in terms of money, and we're not here to say, $100 is not a lot or $1,000 is not a lot. We're going to take any claim. But our fees, our contingency fees, are higher when the balance is lower because the effort is still the same to recover the amount of money. So, I guess each business owner has to evaluate where their level of comfortability is, with their services.
And that was going to be one of my questions before, because I'm going to throw a loop at you. We're going to take a turn here in a minute. What would you say your sweet spot is?
Our sweet spot is around $5,000.
Okay.
I say that for a few different reasons. I'm kind of hedging the answer a little bit because our attorneys, from day one, being involved in a file, having an attorney call on a $600 balance, sure, you might get their ear, but from an effective standpoint, I think, if we're talking in 4 digits as opposed to 3, that's a better, that's more in line with an attorney's work. Also, we're filing, or we're giving our clients the option to move forward with legal if we can't get it resolved. Mm-hmm. If the balance is around $5,000, $7,500. So, $5,000 to $7,500 is really kind of that bottom level, where we're going to give our client the option or not. And if an attorney is going to be involved, they should not only try and recover the money, but to utilize their skills best, evaluate the file, evaluate the collectability, put forth their best effort, and then convey that to the client, give their suggestion to the client based on the facts that they've gathered, and that really allows us to thrive. But we do, real quick, we do have though people, we've non-attorney collectors that will handle files for $400, that will handle files for $1,200. So, because we're in the B2B realm, and some of our clients might send us 100 accounts a month with an average balance of 1,000. Some might send us 3 accounts a month, average balance of 10,000. We have different strategies and work processes.
Okay, so there's a different angle too, right? It's your clients don't just have one account. They don't reach out to you just to say, I just have this one account that I'm going after for $5,000. No, I have 100 of them. Right. But when people come to you to acquire your services, they're already at a point where it's creating pain for them.
For sure, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, they've had a receivable. I mean, depending on their tolerance, maybe 6 months, maybe 9 months, maybe a year and a half. And we have been asked to handle claims 2 years old. So
that's got to be a little tougher. I mean,
right?
Is that because that particular client isn't very good at bookkeeping, or they don't look at their financial sheets and see the ARs stacking up?
Yeah, I mean it's really different. I mean, each company, it's all based on kind of their sales versus collection mindset. A lot of business owners just want to focus on, go sales, and the collections will fall in line. Or maybe, this is a customer that they've worked with for a while that has had experiences of making payment, and maybe they know the customer's going through a tough time and they want to support them through that tough time. Maybe they're going to spend a little bit more time and effort internally. So there's just a lot of different reasons, honestly, why a receivable could prolong that long.
I'm going to throw you a loop now.
Yeah.
Because here's a different aspect of being a business owner and how you go about getting your business and how you go about getting paid. So you're in a scenario where you don't get paid if you don't get any business done, right?
Right.
So a lot of business owners are in that world, right? Whether we call it commission based, however you want to call it, that's a tough world to get started in, get it up, get running, get going, because at first you're not bringing a whole lot in.
Right.
And it's a very difficult, tough way to do that. Have you always been that way? Was there a time where there was actually a fee that was charged to begin with?
Yeah,
in order to help those startup costs and get going? Right.
It depends on our type of service we're providing, but for the most part, we have always been that contingency model. That's what the industry has done in the past, and that's the model that we followed. That's the one that I've known of my whole life.
That's the way sales has gone. Yeah, if you're in the sales world or something like that, you've gone to that commission contingency. I only get paid if I sell. Because 20 years ago, you could get a job and you're getting $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year, plus you're getting commissions. So you're getting supported. Nowadays, good luck finding a sales job that pays you something and then gives you commissions
Right.
so that you can survive. So if you're a business owner and you want to start a business and you're going to do it on contingency, you really got to think that one through.
Yeah.
And make sure you're financially sound to get to that point where you start receiving.
Yeah, I mean,
your income.
for us, it's all about sales. I
Yeah.
mean, sales is the bloodline of our business. Without sales, we don't have anything because, as you were mentioning, the contingency model. So,
Yeah.
It's really a focus on, kind of feet to the pavement, getting out there, closing deals, having opportunity to generate success, and then generating those successes. I mean, besides our model of contingent-based servicing of receivables, there are companies out there that will factor or insure receivables, companies that will purchase receivables. So all three of those different companies, that's more capital intensive than ours.
Yeah, it really is. You start purchasing receivables. It's kind of like for me as a financial advisor, I could buy other financial advisors' books, right?
Right.
But it gets expensive,
Right.
and you're not 100% sure it's going to work,
Right.
Or how long is that going to last to buy those services? So, yeah, I get that, but I just want to kind of point out that this is an aspect of your business and so many other people's businesses that a lot of people. This is a business killer,
Yeah.
per se, if you're starting up and you don't account for the time frame it takes. And speaking of which, what would be the average turnaround time frame that you see? And I know that there's so many variables in what you do, but is there some kind of an average turnaround time of acquiring the funds from the obligator? See, I remember
Great
that
question. Obligor.
word. Obligor. See, almost got it.
Yeah.
I'm ready for law school now.
Yeah. No. It's such a good question. We're recovering 25% of the gross dollars, more or less, we receive in-house, and 90% of those recoveries are happening in our internal efforts, which is usually about 60 to 90 days. So, going along the lines of what I was saying previously about our leverage being strongest at the beginning, a significant portion, I would say about a third of our recoveries are probably within the first 2 to 3 weeks of getting involved.
Wow. Okay.
Or less. Maybe even more than a third, maybe 40%. So very significant, heavy concentration at the beginning of our efforts. And then, it kind of ebbs down a little bit.
Makes sense. Makes sense. But those collections you get in that first let's say 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And most likely, maybe it's just because you're bringing it to the attention of the proper people when
Right.
other folks just haven't been paying attention, or
Right.
like the governor and state of Illinois, right? All of a sudden there's an advertisement that, hey, we're paying our bills on time now.
Yeah.
Well, but there's still that 3, 4, 5 year backlog, but yeah, we're working on it.
JB, thank you.
That's exactly right, though, because
Yeah, I'm probably going to be asked to be on that campaign.
that's right, because we know our clients have done what they could internally, and usually their process is a letter series campaign, or a telephone calling campaign, and
Makes
their
sense.
contact is probably someone within the accounting department or someone that pays the company's payables. So when we get involved, not only third-party attorney, but we're going right to the owner. We're going right to the top and finding
yeah.
out what is going on with the company. We need payment, or
It
we need
helps
to
to go
find
to
out
the
why.
decision maker, to
Yeah.
get that. And
Hey, Scott asks, what are the main causes that allow receivables to start being slow pays or no pays? You've been in the business for a long time. What are the common
Great
mistakes
question.
that businesses make?
Great question. The first thing is defining your internal approach, sales versus collections. And when I say that, it's not so much like having a conversation, but certain things like how you write your contracts, what your terms and conditions are. If you're going to insert language such as like default provisions, where if you don't pay, then you're responsible for collection costs and attorney's fees, or there's certain interest that accrues for non-payment, stuff like that. Your
firstborn, pay it back.
You're kind of shifting your model from a sales-driven organization to more of a corporate structured, less startup, more mature business, and that's the first. That's really the first focus. The second focus is the process around that after the sale and transaction arises.
Yeah.
What's your model to recover the payment? When are you sending an invoice by mail
you mean
or
plan
email?
ahead?
Yeah, like day 1, day 30, day 60. What do you?
Again,
what's your campaign?
Again, business owners, you wear a lot of hats. How would you know to do this? If you don't get involved in that situation, you would know to preset this up and have this in position and in place already. But let me ask you something: is verbal? Can I just have the conversation with the guy and tell him, hey, if you don't pay me, I'm sending Tony Vitale after you. And so we verbally have that agreement, but it's not written. Is that still pliable? Is that still a legal form of a contract?
Well, it depends. In the way that you mentioned that there's no contract there because
I don't want that
they're not going to agree to send it to Vitale.
I don't want that coming back to me.
So yeah. But yeah, generally speaking,
I just want it inferred.
Especially in media, it happens often. Where there is verbal agreement or agreement by performance. There's a promise to agree to certain advertising allotments over a period of time, say $1,000, and ultimately there's creative, whether it's a radio advertisement or an outdoor billboard or something along those lines that has to be approved, and the media company will create it, the advertiser will approve it, and then
media company creating something. Imagine that.
And then they're going to start the agreement, and on a certain date they were going to start the agreement by the insertion order or whatever it is, and let's say the media company can't get in touch with the customer.
Yeah.
But they've already agreed to the insertion order, they've agreed to the media, the content for the advertisement, and now they just can't get the green light. But they've already had the agreement, so they're going to start the process, and the fact that they performed, I mean, that's creating a contract.
So it's interesting because you bring up the concept where, okay, we're going to have this agreement, and if you don't pay as time goes by, that penalty can increase.
Right.
Yet you work on the opposite side of that, right? If you get things done in the beginning early, you wind up getting paid less, actually.
No, well, we actually don't, because that process that you were describing with the interest accruing and everything along those lines, that's increasing the balance owed to our client before we get involved. So, if our client's owed $5,000 and there's interest that tolls at 18%, maybe our client is really owed, by the time we get the file, $5,800, let's just say, or something along those lines. And then if they have a provision in their agreement, their contract, their terms and conditions, saying that their customer is responsible for any collection costs, attorney's fees, non-payment, we're going to take our, say, 25% fee, and we're going to add that on to that $5,800 balance, and now we're going to collect $8,000.
I was going to
say. So after
after
we take 25%, our client gets back $6,000. So they're made whole.
They're made whole. They
get their interest.
Get a little bit. Yeah,
numbers don't work. They should be only getting $5,800, but
but that adds up fast.
Yeah.
I mean, if I owe $5,000, and they start coming after me, and now I got to get a lawyer involved and get things involved, and the first thing we all think about when I got to get a lawyer involved is, holy crap, that's going to cost a lot of money.
Right.
Right. And not necessarily always true, because it's timing and whatnot. There are, again, variables, but it definitely increases the cost rapidly.
Yeah, it does.
So pay your bills, folks. Just.
Well, and that's the thing
keep
too.
everybody helping each other out, building your businesses.
But also on the flip side too, with companies that are owed money, a lot of times, although it might not be a good feeling, a lot of times the best decisions aren't those best feelings. Sometimes a good settlement is when two parties are equally dissatisfied. So, getting your money, as much of it as possible, as quick as possible, in a lot of different scenarios, financial, avoidant, promise breaker, financial, also like out of business or bankrupt. You want to just get it and run. So
if only marriage could be that way. It doesn't work that way. And I get that. And then typically we talk about that in all kinds of negotiations. It's not necessarily one over the other being more satisfied or less. It's typically a good good contract put together is both sides are slightly dissatisfied,
Right.
but they got a lot of what they wanted.
Right.
Which then we learned how to ask for 10 times more than we want, so we wind up with 3 times more than we thought we'd get. But yeah, so I can see this is an interesting process, and you're strictly business to business, right? You're not doing any individual stuff, so nobody I owe money to can come to you.
Right.
Right. Good.
Yeah. The only time we'll take an individual matter is if one of our clients has a situation where maybe it was an employee relocation advancement, and that employee has to work at the company for, say, 6 months or a year after they move to really, get that advancement, but they leave the company after 2 months, they don't pay back the advance funds, and then our client's hey, can you? So then, as a favor, we'll do that type of stuff, but generally speaking, no.
I would bet that's considerable, and I would think part of the reason why you need to have your services and reach out to your company is because there is a lot of turnover.
Yeah.
And when there's a lot of turnover, things get dropped, in every department.
Yeah.
Right, and especially if you're losing key people, and in the corporate world and in the business world, we're losing key people every day,
well, and that's
a lot.
To your point earlier about how a receivable can go that long, companies are focused first and foremost on sales and service and process. This collections and receivables is more of a back office administrative function, if you will, and that might be
but it's a revenue generating one.
It is, and it's extremely
not HR,
important.
It's yeah.
But if a company's during COVID, I need one focus and priority, I'm going to focus on sales, or I'm going to focus on my operation, and ultimately receivables will come after. And
has the pandemic brought more business to your door?
Yes, but we go with the economy as opposed to maybe what most would think, because we need the businesses to be able to pay. So the businesses need to be able to have the funds to pay. So the economy needs to be going in the right direction for them to have those funds to pay.
Oh, good luck with that.
Well, the stimulus money, the PPP and stuff
Going
along
forward,
those lines has helped tremendously over the past 2 years.
Oh, the PPP loans have got to been tremendous to help.
Tremendous. And we use that actually as an investigative tool, and we're completing analysis for settlement or legal. We're going to see if that company has received PPP funds, and that'll give us some insight too. But the other thing is, when the economy isn't going well, a lot of our clients, they want to hold on to their customers because who knows when they're going to get another one. So then they're not going to slide. They let them go a little bit longer, the receivables, so we kind of feel it on both sides.
So now we're training our clients to, it's okay, just you pay me when you can.
Well, yeah, I mean, are they a customer if they don't pay?
That's right. Well, yes, maybe, because if you're still giving them your services or product, yes, they are.
Right.
But if you're not getting paid, they're just not a good client.
Yeah.
But Kent, you went to...
Yeah, so of course I'm out there at afm-usa.com. Take a look at the website. You've created great partnerships with like Experian to help businesses as well. Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so a lot of what we've been focused on is the reactive when things go bad. But my father specifically, in the late 80s, early 90s, established a partnership with Experian. And essentially what we'll do is we'll help get Experian's credit reports to businesses quicker and cheaper. And we're a reseller, more or less, for Experian credit reports. And it's good to evaluate new customers, yes. So, obviously, financial viability, general information, about key personnel involved, stuff along those lines, the Experian reports will show. But what I find so great about it is that it comes with an alert service. So when their credit score drops a certain amount, or if there's a bankruptcy, or if there's a legal matter, or if they're just not paying a certain vendor as quick as they should be, our clients who use that Experian will get that notification, and now they can move right away and be first to protect their interests as opposed to others.
So now
who
we're on
don't
that
have
proactive side. I like
Yeah.
great question, great thinking, and again, makes sense. But as a business startup, new business owner, small to medium, you might not think of that. At this, you got so many hats on, you got so many things going on.
Right.
Again, surround yourself with good people, let them do what they do.
Yeah.
And some of these issues won't come into play, but if they do, this is where you want to go.
Right. Well, in a good internal credit manager at a company, or a controller or CFO, they'll see that receivable process, not just from the back end, they'll also see it from the front end with the vetting of new customers, with the contractual language and the terms and conditions, and they'll try and protect their interests from the get-go. So, yeah, I mean, you're exactly right, though. You have to let that person do what they need to do their job right, because they need those tools both at the beginning and end of the process.
Yeah,
That's
and
for sure.
again, I'm sorry, did you want to cut in?
I was just going to ask, so you're third generation. Is there a fourth generation coming up behind you that's going to take your spot?
I was going to bring that up.
Well, my son is 6. He's going to be 6 next week, and he loves art, and he loves sports. So I don't know where collections falls in that realm, but well, you never know.
Well, if he gets that big contract for sports and they're not paying him.
Yeah, I can remember bringing my basketball cards to my dad's office, when I was 7 years old, and putting them on his scanner and getting a piece of paper with the card. So who knows? Yeah. Never know.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
That's awesome, but that's great. And I love getting to more to that proactive side, into thinking, into front running. If I'm going to do business with somebody, I should maybe have them checked out, make sure they're financially, fiscally reliable.
Yeah.
And before I even get into bed with them, because again, that's something I hadn't considered, and I'm on my third business here, and again, I'm still. This is what the beauty of having wonderful people like you on the show is I get to learn. And Kent, we always brag about it after the show, how much, man, I learned so much from that. I look at all the notes I have from this one or that one. I can't do notes anymore. But Kent, so you just make some copies for me. But yeah, so is there another aspect or anything else you wanted to kind of inform?
So for growing businesses that are having tough, like personnel issues or HR issues, maybe people staying or bringing enough good people in right away, we also offer a first-party outsourcing. And that's not only for growing businesses, or maybe it's established where they have too many accounts and can't service all of them internally, and they need someone to more or less be an employee, but not be an employee, be that outside party, but represent their interests and, help them recover the receivables internally. So we have an outsource service, a first-party outsource service, where we can contact their customers as them from our office, where our phone numbers will appear as them. If they call into a number, it can reroute directly to them or reroute to them to us again, and we can provide our collection services, but as their receivables department. So we have a first-party outsource. And that's usually not done on a contingent basis.
Okay.
That's more on a cost, maybe per full-time employee, or maybe activity, whether it's a phone call or email. So we might price it by campaign.
Okay.
But
I mean, do you have services where it's like, okay, I can just pay you a monthly fee to take care of me?
Yeah. And that's where that first-party outsource would be.
You can watch over a number of the different aspects that your business touches. And then I have less to worry about. Yeah,
I mean, our services really start from the beginning of a receivable. It's the credit granting process. And then we have a first-party outsource. And then the second step is really deciding, because this first party, that's internal collection, is this a customer or is this someone that belongs in collection? So we have that free demand. So we've got the credit granting, the outsource, the free demand. And then if that isn't successful, we could do a soft collect, where rather than an attorney or a law office, we could do it as AFM.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then we can go to the attorney intervention collection, and then the legal process after if we're not successful. So we kind of cover it really from beginning to end. We also provide bankruptcy support services to help businesses, when they're in that scenario. So.
I didn't know there was a business out here like this.
Yeah. There's 6,000 collection agencies in the United States.
It's probably a good thing I don't know about that.
It's a good thing,
right?
Definitely. But there's only like 100 that have the credentials, certifications, licensing, and back to your point about vetting out those companies, you really want to make sure you're with a trusted, reliable provider.
Gotcha.
Well, and I think the incredible thing about American Financial Management is you really want to be an advisor. You're not just the heavy, right? No. It's like, let's get in business together. Let us help advise you on how to build a better business and really increase your profits.
That's the one takeaway that I hope that listeners will glean from here is that it's all about care. Like the reason why we do what we do is to make a difference, and it's not only for our clients, it's not only for the obligors or debtors, the people that owe the money, but it's
obligor. That's my new favorite name.
It's for our people internally because we're a success-based business. Yeah. So when our salesperson brings in a new client, he's so excited or she's so excited, but that doesn't really mean we generate any revenue. So it's the other side of the business, their coworker, that's now going to support them in that account. Hopefully they generate a success, and now they get to, inform not only the salesperson, but the client, and now they're a hero. So making that difference, that's what we're about. That's why we wake up, and it's by providing collections with consistent care. So you're right. It's all about the consulting. It's all about being a partner for the next 50 years, and it's really making sure our clients know that, that's what we're about.
You're touching all the way down to the individuals.
Yeah.
And you're taking them all into consideration, and reputations are very, very important for everyone. We're down to 2 minutes.
Yeah,
that's fast.
Flown.
Time does fly. Yeah. It's but I do want to point that out. That's so important because it is to me anyway. Taking it all the way down to the individual people and knowing, look, these are businesses that are supporting individuals and their families.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot going on here.
I know, and the thing is, the empathy side of it is, a lot of the businesses that are the ones that owe the money, they didn't choose to be in that situation. And that's, that's the mindset we have. Yeah, we have to operate, optimistically. We're half glass full.
You ever work with 2 and 6 in that? They're just in it for the money.
Yeah, so they didn't choose to be in that situation. So how can we help them get away and out of that situation? And that's what, that's what we take to the conversations.
Yeah, that's outstanding. That's outstanding.
Good stuff. Of course, before we call this quits, we really got to shout out to our good friends at Butterfield Studios. This,
without question,
what an experience!
Jeff
all
and his
around.
crew, amazing. This is beautiful.
An actual green room.
This is outstanding. We look forward to continuing this series of conversations with the CEO as we go forward. We can't thank you enough, Alex, for being
Thank you very much.
Our inaugural
Thank
CEO.
you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Good
and show number uno in this series.
That's right. Ask. Conversations with a CEO, career-ending opportunities.
Yeah, these won't be every week. Yeah. These will be from time to time as we go through, and we will be jumping back and forth between studios and different types of folks, and continue to try and bring you quality people on this show that can help you understand some issues, concerns, problems you might run into, tribulations, bumps in the road, and also how to get past that, because that's really important, right? If you know how to get past this, it's not as stressful. It's not as big a deal. Keep growing.
That's it.
Keep focusing on growing.
Exactly.
That's what we need. We have over 2 million people starting businesses since last January in this country. You're not all going to succeed, sorry to tell you, but hopefully what goes on with this show can help you at least have a better shot at succeeding.
Yeah. Exactly. Keep growing, and I think you're going to know if you're risky enough based on if you actually have to use a company like mine, because hopefully you are growing and you are taking on a little bit of risk, so it's going to prop that growth up, and you might have to have a few.
Don't grow too fast.
Yeah.
You'll wind up owing a lot of money, but you're like, oh, I got to catch up. But again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Outstanding studio. You guys were awesome, and very much appreciate it. Thank
Kent,
you.
as always, thank you.
I don't like being on camera.
Yeah, that's a little bit of change for you.
That is.
I see never mind. I don't want to go there.
It's not healthy. That's it.
Love the lighting. Let's just say it. Put it that way.
That's it. For all of
But,
us here at 216 Net and our good friends at Butterfield Studio for American Financial Management and Innovative Strategies, thanks for tuning in. Come back at 12:30 for questions you never thought you could ask in church.
Thank you. Thank you all for listening in. Appreciate it. Sally, Steph, everybody, Scott, thanks for listening in.
I gotta get it on and find my strength. 'Cause the road I chose, yeah, it's always full. Those highway lines make me feel so safe. I chased the lightning, I got soaked in the rain. Danced with my demons till I couldn't see straight. Try to twist me, but I still won't break. I don't mind. I'll find a way. I'll find a way. 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 I chased the lightning, I got soaked in the rain. Danced with my demons till I couldn't see straight. Try to twist me, but I still won't break. I don't mind. I'll find a way. I'll find a way. I'll find a way.
Hey, I'm Andy, and I